You are listening to Arirang Radio's Wonders of Jeju. This is a segment where we tell you about the lives of people living right here on the island. I'm your host, AK. This is Humans of Jeju.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Look at you. I'm actually, it was my intention that I, wear
Wearing
hat
a hat.
because,
I love the hat.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
hat.
I like the message on my hat. And yeah, because of you, I kind of, I consider myself like as wearing as a hat person today.
Hat person?
Yeah, but then, look at us.
I know,
we have
both have a
similar
collared shirt
right.
on the inside too.
What a coincidence.
I think AK's been going through my drawers.
Yeah, I mean, last week, like a couple of weeks ago, we had like a same, like a color of shirt, color. Right?
We've been clicking.
Green. Yes,
we've been clicking.
Something.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just talk about, humans of Jeju. We're not talking about clothes. Okay, so who is another special person today?
Yes, so let's start by listening to today's Human of Jeju.
Great.
일러스트레이터이자 그래픽 디자이너로 활동하고 있는 전현주라고 합니다. 그리고 이제 디자이너로 활동을 한 지는 꽤 됐어요. 한 15년 정도 서울에서 활동을 하다가 제주로 내려온 지는 이제 한 3년 넘었고, 이제 그래픽 디자이너로도 현재도 프리랜서처럼 활동을 하고 있고, 그리고 일러스트레이터도 함께 활동을 하고 있으면서 제 스튜디오를 같이 운영을 하고자 이렇게 연지는 1년 정도 된 지금은 스튜디오 운영장으로 있습니다.
Okay, please.
Yes, so today's Human of Jeju that we're going to introduce, her name is Hyunjoo. Mm-hmm. She's the representative of JooJoo Studio and works as an illustrator and graphic designer. So originally, she worked as a designer in Seoul for nearly 15 years before moving to Jeju, which was about 3 years ago. So she started working as a freelancer, specializing in illustration and graphic design. And about a year ago, she opened her current studio and has been actively engaged in branding.
So she was originally a designer.
Yes.
Yeah, but she started like doing illustration and graphic design after coming to Jeju.
Yes, so she mentioned that she stopped working for a company around the time when COVID-19 started. And from then on, she says she began her freelance career. She and her husband, along with their cat, were living in Seoul. And after spending nearly 15 years in Seoul, she actually felt overwhelmed by the city life. And especially during the COVID-19 period, she said she felt very confined in their small home. And actually, many people living in the cities had similar thoughts.
Right.
Yeah, during that time, feeling more confined in relatively smaller urban houses compared to the rural and the suburban areas. So during that challenging period, her husband started looking for a job in Jeju, and naturally they ended up moving to Jeju together.
So she started like her freelance work, around this time. So she quit her job in design, and now it seems like her work has expanded a lot. So could you explain more specifically about what she does?
Yes. So let's listen to her story first.
Great.
제 그림이 들어간 제품을 상품화해서 판매를 하고 있는 쇼룸으로 운영을 하고 있는 좀 다채로운 공간이어서 주주 스튜디오라는 이름을 지었고, 처음에는 작업실을 얻으려고 했었는데 임대라고 적혀있는 되게 오래된 문방구 건물이었어요, 여기가. 그래서 한번 공간을 좀 보고 싶다, 궁금하다 사장님한테 여쭤봤더니 3층에서 이제 슬리퍼 신고 쭉 내려오시더라고요. 그래서 공간을 보여줬는데 빛바랜 종이라든지 15년 동안 문방구를 하셨던 그 제품들이 그대로 있더라고요. 그래서 이제 이 한 공간에 문방구를 15년 있었던 그 스토리도 너무 재미있고, 뭔가 이 공간을 이어서 제 브랜드를 한 번 더 저도 키워보고 싶다라는 생각이 확 들더라고요.
Okay, please.
Yes, so currently she operates a showroom at the JooJoo Studio where she commercializes products featuring her illustrations for sale. The space is quite diverse. She mentioned she was exploring various locations in Daejeong-eup area to find a studio. Then she stumbled upon a place with a sign that said for rent. The place became her current space and it actually used to be a stationery store.
Yeah.
So she said when she inquired about the place over the phone, the landlord, wearing his slippers on the third floor, came down to meet her.
Okay.
And the space he opened up still had stationery products from 15 years ago. So like the faded papers and notebooks, they all appealed to her. And
Oh
the
my
interesting
God.
stories behind the old stationery kind of changed her mind. And that's when she decided to grow her own brand in the space.
So where did all these notebooks, like old, worn out notebooks and everything go? I wonder where, did they go? But then, her workplace, like a workspace became both a studio and a like showroom.
Yes. And mentioning about the, like the stationeries that she had, there was even an old signboard of the, the stationery store, which was called Sem Stationery Store, and was still attached to the place. So she actually liked the signboard so much that she even hesitated about, removing it.
I can understand.
So the traces of time in that space, she said, were fascinating to her, as she also continues her freelance work from Seoul. And as the representative of the studio, she showcases her own brand and also offers art classes as well to those who want to learn art in Jeju. And she has a very diverse range of students, like from young kids to adults.
So the field of design seems like limitless in terms of expansion. So did she continue kind of doing both design and drawing in Seoul as well?
Yes. So first, she mentioned that she inherited a passion for art from her mother, who was actually skilled in fine arts. Naturally drawn to drawing, she says she literally lived in an art academy for 3 years while preparing for art school. And when she entered the visual design department, it was there where she said she learned various aspects of design, such as like graphic design, bookmaking, advertising, and package design.
Everything.
So her first job was at a magazine company where she spent almost 2 years doing book design and learned the basics of the design. Afterwards, she worked for nearly 9 years in the brand design team of a cosmetic company. So her last job was also in a food company where she only worked for about a year. She mentioned that the difference between cosmetic and food design, she said, was very significant, and she found herself not enjoying her work. So during that time, she developed the desire to create her own brand, focusing on her drawings and illustrations. So while working at the company, she carefully prepared and pondered on how to start her own venture.
I mean, probably the dream of every professional is to, create their own brand and, enjoy working on their terms. So today we've been discussing the story of Hyunjoo, the founder of JooJoo Studio. So, I mean, she's creating her own brand on Jeju as a designer. And earlier we mentioned that she spent 15 years as a designer working in Seoul.
Yes.
I mean, I'm curious about how she transitioned to creating her own brand while also working as a freelancer.
Yes, so let's hear directly from her first.
Great.
마지막 그 회사 다닐 때는 퇴근하고 가면 집에서 이제 쉬는 시간이라든지 뭐 주말이라든지 계속 그림을 그리는 활동을 했어요. 집에서도 자연스럽게 이제 좀 개인 작업들을 많이 하면서 블로그라든지 인스타그램이라든지 그 당시에도 계속 이제 제 작업을 알릴 수 있는 통로를 통해서 계속 제 그림을 보여주면서 좀 작업을 계속 진행을 해왔는데 우연치 않은 계기로 이제 블로그를 제 거를 보시는 분 중에 제 그림을 좋게 봐주신 분이 계셨는데 제일기획의 이제 기획 담당 분으로 계셨던 분이었던 거예요. 블로그 구독자인데 그림 너무 팬이다 이러면서 연락이 오셨고 그분이 담당하는 브랜드가 삼성이었던 거죠. 처음 프리랜서 작업을 했던 게 삼성 에어컨 광고, 신문에 들어가는 진화 광고 작업을 하게 됐던 거예요.
Please?
Yes, so she mentioned she always continued to draw in her free time, but during her last job, she said she really fully dedicated her evenings to drawing. So she said she would utilize breaks and weekends to work on her art, and naturally she began showcasing her personal work on social media. And she did this particularly on her blog. So during this time, someone from one of the most famous advertising agencies in Korea, who had frequently visited her blog, that person happened to be the planning manager at the agency. That he was very impressed with her drawings, and she said he identified himself as a fan and commissioned her for an air-conditioned air conditioner advertisement in a leading newspaper for the company S.
Wow, Company S. I'm curious about this company.
S. Everybody probably knows Company S.
A very well-renowned company. Okay, so I mean that's quite a astonishing turn of events. So instead of her seeking clients, a client actually reached out her first, and it was for an advertisement by renowned advertising agencies project for Company S.
Yes. And that project served as a turning point and gradually expanding her scope of work and engaging in various projects as well.
So the drawings, we saw earlier, were very cute and simple. And I'm really curious if, she has a specific kind of drawing style, that she pursues.
So let's hear about her drawing style directly from her first.
Great.
주주 스튜디오 브랜드를 한번 준비해서 만들어 보자라고 다짐을 한 순간부터 이제 조금 그림 스타일을 좀 확고하게 해야 될 것 같다. 해서 그림도 좀 단순하게 많이 작업을 하고 뭔가 좀 일관성 있게 좀 작업을 많이 했는데 제 그림을 좀 보시는 분들이 공통적으로 하시는 말씀들이 색감이 너무 따뜻하다. 색감으로 되게 힐링을 받는다. 편안한 느낌을 받는다. 그리고 질감을 통해서 좀 많이 좀 따뜻함을 느끼는 것 같아요. 그래서 자연을 소재로 좀 그림을 많이 그리는 편인데 그게 좀 받아들이는 분들의 입장에서 되게 좀 마음에 좀 편안해지는 그림을 좀 많이 그려보고 싶어서 그게 좀 아직까지도 좀 크게 변하지 않는 좀 목표는 맞는 것 같아요. 네. 그래서 자연을 좀 주제로 많이 그림을 그리고 제가 같이 키우고 있는 고양이 2마리가 있어서 굉장히 좀 저에게 많이 영향을 끼치는 편인 것 같아요. 그래서 고양이하고 제가 살고 있는 제주를 베이스로 작업을 좀 많이 합니다. 네.
Alright.
Yeah, so she's been working as an illustrator for about 8 years, and she mentioned that her illustration style has changed a lot over time. When collaborating in Seoul or working with brands, she mentioned that the image pursued by the company often differed from her personal work. So therefore, while engaging in her artistic activities, she gradually narrowed the gap between her personal style and the collaborative style. So during the preparation of the JooJoo Studio brand, she felt the need to firmly establish her own drawing style. And what she emphasizes is simple and consistent. So she observed how people perceived her drawing, and many mentioned that her color palette is warm and gives a comfortable feeling. So she expresses warm colors through textural tools and draws simple and comfortable images. She said that she often draws inspiration from the natural beauty of Jeju in her artwork. The style that she pursues is characterized by the sense of comfort. And her 2 cats, which she raises, she said have a significant influence on her as well. So she tends to draw images that reflect the simplicity and comfort associated with her cats, intertwined with the nature of Jeju.
So she seems like, she has a clear understanding of what she pursues. So you can kind of feel that in a specific style that she talks about when you look at her drawings. So did she engage in activities, related to Jeju after coming here?
So let's listen about that as well.
Great.
JDC 면세점에 아무래도 코로나가 좀 많이 풀리면서 해외로 여행객들이 좀 많이 가다 보니까 제주에 방문객이 좀 많이 줄어드는 좀 그런 좀 걱정이 있다고 연락이 오셨는데 여름 휴가객들이 많은 시즌에 김포공항에 이제 그 광고가 크게 걸렸던 적이 있었죠. 그러면서 이제 제주도를 방문하는 고객들, 그래서 엑스레이를 통과하면 전광판에 크게 JDC 면세점 광고가 들어가는 그 작업을 했던 게 좀 기억이 남고, 그리고 제주 밭작물 20종을 그릴 수 있는 작업도 최근에 마쳤고요. 제주를 기반으로 활동을 하고 있는 다양한 이제 스타트업 그 기업들이 종종 이제 저한테 이제 연락이 와서 뭐 작게는 그냥 로고 작업부터 좀 크게는 전체적인 브랜드 작업까지 지금 작업을 하고 있고, 그리고 원어더 페이지에서도 연락이 오셔서 제주 해양 오염수에 대해서 좀 포스터 작업을 이제 하고 싶다라고 하셔서 그것도 이제 지금 현재 작업 중이고요.
Alright.
Yes, so according to her, she thinks that she received requests for her works in Jeju because she's an active artist in Jeju. And last spring, with the increase in the number of international tourists at JDC duty-free store and the decline in local tourists due to the easing of COVID-19, she said they reached out to her concerned about the tourism situation. So consequently, during the summer vacation season, when many tourists visit Jeju, she said her artwork was displayed on billboards at Gimpo Airport.
Wow.
After that, she also worked on creating drawings for a project promoting various crops in Jeju rural fields under a national initiative called the Jeju 밭작물 20종 그림, which is pictures of Jeju 20 field crops.
Yeah.
Also recently, she received a request from a bookstore near JooJoo Studio called Another Page. So this was actually a place we introduced in Humans of Jeju last year. The owner contacted her to design posters raising awareness about marine pollution. And through these experiences, she says she discovered that there are many socially impactful bookstores on Jeju and various startups based on the island as well. And she realized that many startups ranging from like small tasks like designing logos to comprehensive brand projects, they seek her services for help. So over time, she started venturing into brand consulting.
I mean, it seems like Jeju also, has a great impact on her work as well. So it's delightful to know that, diverse projects related to Jeju can be done in places like Seogwipo, Daejeong-eup area, and I hope that many brands with unique stories like, hers will kind of, thrive in the outskirts of, Seogwipo area and other areas of Jeju. So many people kind of dream, of living in the rural parts of Jeju, but it's quite often quite challenging for young individuals to find sustainable career opportunities. Yes. So it'd be quite great if more people engaged in such creative work throughout kind of across Jeju Island.
Yes, and also she mentioned that her scope of work has expanded since coming to Jeju as well. As mentioned earlier, she's been in contact with various startup companies on the island, and she actually realized that there are many young entrepreneurs on the island.
Of course. So I've also noticed that, designers often take on brand consulting, which she also mentioned that she's getting into. But, probably this work goes beyond, just design and involves in, encapsulating brand storytelling and philosophy.
So according to her, she said many startups approach her without even knowing how to come up with the brand name.
Yeah.
So during the meetings, she said they discuss about the history behind their startup and what kind of brand they want to create. So they collectively brainstorm and decide on everything from naming to defining the startup's goal and brand direction. So following that, she collaborates with them to plan and finalize elements such as brand colors, document fonts, and even font types as well.
Okay, so it seems like she continually expands her field based on her own work. But what kind of process did she go through, and what did she study to keep expanding her process?
So during her time as an employee, she said she really didn't have a strong attachment to the work since she was just a salary worker. She said all she did was, go to work, create the designs for the that the company wanted and follow the company's deadlines. However, working as a freelancer where she's the owner and an artist, she says she has to handle everything herself, from issuing invoices to tax-related work. And additionally, she has to engage in external meetings, marketing, and sometimes collaborate with other brands as well.
Wow.
So in this position, she says she learned how to communicate effectively, persuade others, and even promote herself.
By all herself? Wow.
And so she did emphasize that, if she makes a mistake, there's no one else, there to help her. So being the representative and taking responsibility responsibility for every aspect of her work. She says she's been motivated to continuously expand her professional boundaries.
Wow, I cannot even imagine, like, she does all that work by herself. I mean, it sounds like she learned through hands-on experience rather than like through separate studies.
Yes, and also she mentioned that she's also learning a lot in Jeju environment. Living amidst Jeju's nature, her interest shifted towards producing products that are less harmful to the environment. This, she said, led her to minimize the use of plastic and disposable items in her creations. She has set rules for herself, such as refraining from excessive product like packaging, and she's gradually incorporating these principles into her work.
And I think, even just living in Jeju, leads people just to kind of awaken about this the environment.
About the nature.
Right.
Yes.
So she also mentioned that she conducts, art classes at the studio. I mean, since her students range from like children to adults, like, are there any differences in each class?
So she mentioned that the adult students mainly work with oil pastel. They often inquire about how to start drawing, expressing uncertainty. Therefore, she says she prescribes like specific materials and sketch guidelines for adult classes. And adults who were initially afraid of drawing, she said, find it amusing during the classes. She also mentioned that the adults laugh after completing because it's been a long time since, they draw and they find it fascinating to concentrate so deeply on the process. As for the children, she says she doesn't limit the sketch or materials, as their imagination is boundless at that age. So she mentioned that the children express anything if given a canvas.
This sounds so fascinating. So oil pastels are great for expressing warmth, and they become more interesting with each stroke. So I can understand why adults might find it like amusing to draw and enjoy the process. So now let's hear about her plans for the future.
Yes, so she opened the studio on December 1st last year, and she mentioned that it's been exactly 1 year since the opening. Although her brand started in Jeju, she doesn't want to limit it to Jeju alone. She's already done various activities throughout the 4 seasons of the past year. And in the coming year, she wants to establish a more systematic structure for her brand and make it even stronger. So she aims to expand her brand activities not only in Jeju, but also nationwide and even potentially internationally. And last year, she sold calendars that she personally drew. And this year, she wants to focus on creating more individual artworks and hosting exhibitions.
Wow, interesting. More excited plans for the future. So I'm so thrilled to look forward to her, future activities as well. So now let's move on to the question we always ask, our humans of Jeju. So what are the places on Jeju that she recommends for our camellias?
So let's hear it directly from her first.
Great.
제주 내려간 2년 정도는 예쁘다는 곳은 다 돌아다녀봤던 것 같아요. 그래서 막 노을 지면 노을도 따라서 차 타고 가보고 예쁜 곳은 다 가보고 했는데 지금은 이제 사는 곳이 되다 보니까 막 어딘가를 막 의도해서 막 찾아가는 편은 아닌 것 같고, 근데 요새도 가끔은 이제 그 신장 해안도로 노을 보러 많이 가거든요. 해안도로 따라서 드라이브 하는 게 제일 요즘에 낙이 아닌가. 네. 거기가 너무 멋있더라고요. 신장 해안도로랑 신도리 그 돌고래 볼 수 있는 그쪽 해안도로 추천합니다.
So where is it?
Yes, so she mentioned that during her first 2 years in Jeju, she explored the island like a tourist and visiting all the beautiful places. However, she said that she realized that there's more value in everyday scenery rather than those distant picturesque locations that everyone talks about. So she mentioned that she particularly enjoys driving from Shindori Coast to Shinchang Coast, where you can watch the sunset. And she also mentioned that if you're lucky, you might even spot a pod of dolphins near Shindori Coast. And this was the place that she wanted to recommend for her listeners.
Have you been there, by the way?
Actually, I've been there. And I've really been one of those lucky persons to see the dolphins.
Wow,
it was
crazy.
amazing.
So once you've been there and then you saw dolphins.
Yeah, we were just looking at the sea
You were the
and
lucky
just by chance, we were all like, what is that? And
Wow,
it happened to
really?
be dolphins, yes, and it was awesome.
Okay, thank you for sharing.
I hope it was dolphins.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I hope it was
you should have
dolphins.
dolphin, of course. It was like a Shindori area, right?
Right.
Okay, so it's so wonderful that, the place she lives in, the most beautiful place to her, and probably for you too, because you saw dolphins as well. All right, so thank you for sharing her story today. I'm going to see you next week.
Yes, see you next week.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the segment. If you're curious to find out more about Jeju, we encourage you to go check out our website at arirangradio.com/Wonders of Jeju, or you can check out our Facebook page at Wonders of Jeju, as well as our Instagram account at WOJ_Arirang. We are going to take you on a journey to learn more about what's happening on this island.